Black Book Stacks. I'm your host, Washonda Sanders, and it has been a minute. Thank you for your patience and welcome to new subscribers if I have them. I'm pretty sure that I do because I think it's been at least 6 months since I posted anything. And I say 6 months because I have a newborn. And so I have been spending most of my time reading when she is asleep, when I have childcare, and writing during those periods instead of reading, or in addition to reading. So here I am. I have a best of list that's a little different than usual. It's actually just my year in reading this year, and I think in years going forward, I have a problem with making a judgment about what the best books of the year have been because I have not had a chance to read all of the books published this year, let alone last year, so I can't really make a call about what's the best, but I can say what I enjoyed the most. And I'll start in reversed order because I just finished reading the print version of this book, The Water Bearers, A Memoir of Mothers and Daughters by Sacha Bonet. And I don't know how I missed it when it came out, but I got it just in time to get a hard copy in addition to listening to it on audio, which was lovely. It essentially is about how mothers and motherhood is like a river. It's like a big body of water, and that there are all of these tributaries that feed into this larger tradition of motherhood, and specifically Black motherhood. One of the things I've said about this book is that I wish I had written it, which is something that I almost never say about books. It has this beautiful quote in it. Almost every room I enter in New York, I can tell they weren't expecting me. Being a Black woman is both my superpower and my greatest obstacle. The former, because they will underestimate me every time. No one sees me coming. Their imagined opponents do not resemble me. I slip in under the radar. The latter, because anti-Blackness is ever rampant. Because Sacha's people are from the South, there's a lot of Southern beauty here, particularly in Houston, which I have a fondness for since I lived in Texas for a little while, including Houston. So I found it just to be a ravishing book on several levels. I don't even remember the last time that I printed or I got a print copy of a book that I was then going to listen to out of that order. But, it just was great to read in every way and right on time. Not necessarily because it had information in it that I didn't necessarily know, but because it just was affirming to read about someone who had so much lived experience that was similar to mine. I also read books by Black mothers and on Black motherhood by people like Danny McClain, We Live for the We, which I found to be pretty good. Yeah, that was pretty much it. For next year, I'm looking forward to, I'm not sure if I'm going to say her last name correctly, but Jamilah Lemieux, I think is how you say her last name. My apologies if I got that wrong. But Jamilah's book, Single Black Mother, is coming out next year at some point, and it's pretty good. I think it's a compilation. It has her essays, or sort of a lead essay, and then there are other perspectives from folks like Dr. Feminista Jones and a few others that I can't remember. So definitely pick that up if you're also looking to continue, as I am, to read in this tradition of Black motherhood. Another book that I just slipped my mind was The Matriarch, or Matriarch rather, by Tina Knowles. It was fantastic. Also great to listen to. Also based in Houston. That was not planned, just a coincidence. It was fun to hear about the nascent days of Destiny's Child and all the stuff they got into. to hear her reflections on being married to Beyonce's dad, Matthew, and some of the behind the scenes stuff that she had to explore as a mom, not only to Beyonce, but also as a surrogate mom to Kelly and all that. So definitely worth a listen if you are into that kind of thing. The next book I read was actually probably my first book that I finished in the new year. It's by Imani Perry, Black and Blues, How a Color Tells the Story of My People. I love the color blue. I'm wearing it right now. I love the water bearers because it's blue. But I didn't know very much about indigo. I didn't really know much about the connection between the color blue and Black folks. So it was just lovely to read a meditation on that, not just the blue color, but also the blues and feeling blue and all of that. So really lovely, definitely good to check out. One that I really enjoyed too that actually came out I think in 2024 is Lovely One by Ketanji Brown Jackson. And given the state of the world, in the US in particular, it was really great to read a story of the first Black Supreme Court Justice that is really grounded in her love of the law and the Constitution, and also reading about her journey, not only as a woman and as a Black woman, but also as a mother and a wife, navigating a career and wanting to have an ambition and focusing on her ambition, but also not to the exclusion of her family. Like having a dream that is as big as her aspirations for her children and making sure that they are also okay with that aspiration. I thought that was really beautiful and lovely. And I think the final print book that I read is Misbehaving at the Crossroads, which I've gushed about. I think I had a separate video about this. This might have been the last video that I did before I gave birth. I feel pretty sure and certain of in galley form. So you can check that out if you want. Everything that I'm reading now for next year is really in either galley form, like I'll Make Me a World, which is about the 100th anniversary of Black History Month by Jarvis Givens. I think it comes out in February. I'm also trying to make my way through a bunch of digital galleys, and not necessarily in the order that they've come to me, but I'm reading right now Kin by Tayari Jones, which is lovely, and The Flower Bearers by Eliza Griffiths. And then I'm looking forward to Whidbey by T. Kira Madden. And I do have a print galley, but I don't know where it is, of Ann Patchett's Whistler, which is very engaging and engrossing. And I mentioned Jamilah's book already. There's another one called The People Can Fly by Joshua Bennett. And I think those are really the main ones that I'm looking forward to getting to as soon as I can. I'd love to hear what you have on deck for 2026. I neglected to mention the digital galley that I read, The Girls Who Grew Big, which was fantastic. I have not read Nightcrawling by Leila Mottley, but I think that The Girls Who Grew Big was one of my favorite novels of the year. I also really liked Happy Land by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I enjoyed Love Rita by Bridget M. Davis, author of The World According to Fannie Davis. I had a mom moment there, new mom moment, sleep deprived. And I also enjoyed Black Genius, which is basically an essay collection by Trey Johnson. There are a couple books that I read in print that came out this year that I wasn't wild about, but I still thought they had good moments. The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy was one of them. I love books about Black women's friendship and the journeys that we take together. I think it was Caitlin Greenidge who referred to it as a novel for Black millennials, which strikes me as very accurate and on point. There was a lot of really good relationship development and plot, interesting plot stuff happening in the book. Sisters being shady toward one another. It's like, how can you resist that in a novel? And toward the end, it takes a departure into the not too distant future. That was a little confusing for me and hard for me to follow. And it also felt like it was sort of tonally different from the rest of the novel. So I didn't have quite the same reaction to it that other people had, which is totally fine. That's why the world is big and we have lots of people who do book reviews and talk about them. But I'd be interested if any of you have read The Wilderness, what your thoughts of it are. I also appreciated reading a digital copy of Unrig the Game by Vanessa Bria Daniels. As someone who works in nonprofit world, philanthropy world, it was great to read the perspective of what is hindering women leaders of color or women identifying leaders of color in spaces that proclaim to lift us up and support us and champion us. So that was valuable, and it was really affirming based on some of the things that I've experienced in my career writ large, regardless of whether it was philanthropy or outside of philanthropy. And then finally, the last book that I purchased digitally was John Edgar Wideman's collection, Languages of Home. I love his voice. I'm not sure why it hasn't captured me quite yet. I think it's because they dig deep in the archives. We go back to the 70s with John Edgar Wideman's work, and I'm more familiar with his more contemporaneous, his contemporary voice. I'm thinking specifically of an op-ed that he wrote about how folks don't want to sit next to Black people on the Amtrak. That was in the New York Times. I'll put a link to this in my description box so you can read the whole Substack essay, which is connected to this year in reading. I've added a few things that I might have forgotten or didn't elaborate on here. But there is a link to that John Edgar Wideman piece, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. So now that I am back kind of into the world, easing back into the world, I hope to be able to upload videos more often. I got my little setup going. I'm going to try and stay caffeinated and so that I can read things and respond to them here. And in the meantime, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for reading and writing and watching. I'm grateful for your presence as a subscriber, and I look forward to hearing what you're excited for in 2026. Until next time, take care.